Welcome to ObscuraTime, where forgotten history is uncovered and lost voices are heard once more. Today, we take you into the heart of southeastern Nigeria, to a sacred land buried beneath the weight of empire and blood, to a powerful city hidden in the forests of Abia State, to Arochukwu, and to the war that tried to erase it. This is the story of the Anglo-Aro War of 1901. A brutal confrontation between the British Empire and a powerful African confederacy. A war of guns, spirits, trade, and defiance. Let's begin in the late 1800s. British colonial ambition was sweeping across Africa. The so-called Scramble for Africa was in full force. From Lagos to the Niger Delta, the Union Jack was being planted on every inch of soil the British could claim. But in the dense jungles of southeastern Nigeria, one power refused to fall: the Aro Confederacy. For generations, the Aro weren't just rulers of a town. They were the architects of an expansive spiritual and commercial empire. They controlled vast trade networks stretching across Igbo, Efik, and Ibibio lands, and they held sway through fear, belief, and the whispers of the gods. At the heart of it all was the sacred city of Arochukwu, home of the mighty Ibini Ukpabi oracle. Known to outsiders as the Long Juju, to the common people, it was a place of divine justice, a spiritual court that settled disputes, punished evildoers, and kept society in check. But behind the veil of smoke and rituals lurked something far darker. For those judged guilty by the oracle, there was no return. Condemned men would enter a narrow cave believed to be the path to the afterlife. But in truth, they were led through secret underground tunnels, sold into slavery, and shipped through hidden trade routes to distant markets. The Aro priests didn't just rule by faith, they ruled by commerce, by control, and by fear and the British. They saw this as a threat to their imperial dreams. By 1900, the British had established the Protectorate of Southern Nigeria. But their grip was incomplete. The Aro stood in the way politically, economically, spiritually. They resisted British trade monopolies. They encouraged local chiefs to reject colonial authority. They maintained an independent military alliance across eastern Nigeria, and worst of all, in British eyes, they kept the slave roots alive. So in 1901, the British struck. They called it the Aro Expedition. The expedition was massive. A force of over 1,000 troops, British officers, African soldiers, and native auxiliaries, armed with Maxim guns, cannons, and modern rifles. They began a campaign deep into the jungle. Village by village, shrine by shrine, the Aro Confederacy did not go quietly. The war was brutal. The Aro warriors fought using guerrilla tactics. They struck at night. They used the forest as their shield, and they inspired uprisings across dozens of towns. This was more than just one battle. It was an anti-colonial resistance. From Afikpo to Bende, from Ohafia to Abam, communities rose up. It wasn't just about trade. It was about preserving a way of life. But the British had no intention of turning back. They used scorched earth tactics, burning crops, leveling villages, detaining chiefs, and dismantling anything that smelled of resistance. By March 1902, the British reached their final destination, Arochukwu. They stormed the city, destroyed its fortifications, and marched into the sacred chambers of Ibini Ukpabi. They shattered idols, burned scrolls, and sealed the legendary tunnels. The oracle, once feared across 1,000 villages, was silenced forever. With the fall of Arochukwu, the Aro Confederacy crumbled. The British quickly installed indirect rule, appointing warrant chiefs and enforcing colonial laws. The ancient justice system was replaced by foreign courts. The trade routes were seized. The spiritual network dismantled, and a culture was colonized. But let's pause here. Was the Aro Confederacy perfect? No, they profited from slavery. They ruled with fear. They weaponized belief. But they were sovereign, African. They were not puppets. They were not passive. They were a civilization built on faith, influence, and power long before the British ever set foot in their forests, and that is why they had to fall, because empire cannot share power. Today, remnants of the Ibini Ukpabi shrine still exist. Stone relics buried under moss, echoes of chants long forgotten, and tunnels now sealed by earth and time. Ask the elders, and they will tell you, the oracle still whispers. The gods were never fully silenced, because history, though buried, can rise again. And we must remember, the Anglo-Aro War wasn't just a battle between guns and spears. It was a war between two worldviews, one that sought to control, and one that refused to be controlled. It was the first large-scale resistance against British colonialism in southeastern Nigeria, and it deserves to be told, this was the war that silenced the gods. Thank you for watching ObscuraTime, where lost voices are remembered, and history is no longer hidden. If this story moved you, share it, because in remembering the past, we reclaim our power.